Cuboidal epithelium have these cells that are roughly square shaped or cube-like. They have a large central nuclei, and they are usually found along tubules and glands, and so they're good for secreting things and absorbing things from these tubes and glands. So this is a picture of kidney tubules. We've seen this in lab, and they can also be found on the ovary surface and in glands where you're secreting stuff. Just to point out, in this tissue, here's the basement membrane right here. Here's the underlying connective tissue. Here's the apical edge. Here's the basal edge. And this is known as the lumen of the tubule, or the open space inside the tubule. Simple columnar, they look more like columns. They're more, their nuclei are more round or oval shaped, and they can sometimes contain mucus secreting cells or cilia. So they are, like a lot of other epithelial tissues, evolved in absorption, secretion of mucus and enzymes, and ciliated cells act to move mucus. They're found in the digestive tract, some ducts of glands, ciliated variety line the respiratory tracts as well. And you can see some more examples over here. Pseudostratified columnar epithelia are also, so they're a single layer of cell again, but what makes them different from columnar is that some don't reach the free surface. Some don't reach this apical surface. Some are overlapped by other cells, and so some are different heights than others. So you can see this cell here looks like it reaches the apical surface, but some of these down here don't. But they're still just a single layer of cells of different heights. And these may bear cilia as well. One example of pseudostratified columnar epithelia is in the trachea, and also most of the upper respiratory tract. These secrete mucus and propel mucus with their ciliary action. Stratified squamous epithelia is a thick membrane, and it's defined as stratified because it's composed of several layers. And the type, or the cell shape, is defined by the apical edge. So we have squished flat cells here. This is multiple layers of cells. This is a stratified squamous epithelia. A common example of stratified squamous epithelium is the skin. That's a keratinized form. Some non-keratinized forms are found in the esophagus and the vagina. Stratified cuboidal, you don't see it too much in the body, so this would be a few layers of cuboidal cells found in some sweat and mammary glands, and they're usually only two cell layers thick, so they're not hugely stratified like some of the stratified squamous epithelia are like. Stratified columnar are also more rare. There's some examples of where they are found in this slide. They sometimes occur at transition areas between two other types of epithelia, but they're not one of the more common tissues. Transitional epithelium are found in the ureters, urinary bladder, and some of the urethra. What transitional epithelia specialize in is stretching readily to permit distension or stretching of urinary organs that contain urine. So the bladder, it's normally kind of relaxed, but when it contains lots of urine, it gets stretched. And so these funny heads on the apical surface or bulbous or rounded appearance of the cells help these cells flatten and become elongated when the bladder is full of urine. So these cells resemble stratified squamous and stratified cuboidal. And then the basal cells can be cuboidal or columnar, and then the surface cells are dome-shaped or squamous-like, depending on how much that organ gets stretched. This is a picture of the bladder. Now, a gland is one or more cells that makes or secretes an aqueous fluid, so some kind of fluid that contains stuff. And so they're classified by where products are released, endocrine or exocrine, and they're classified by the number of cells forming the gland. Unicellular, multicellular. So unicellular glands only have one cell. Multicellular, many cells. Endocrine glands are ductless glands. They mainly function to secrete hormones, and they directly dump their hormones into the bloodstream or the lymph. Then those hormones travel to target organs. Exocrine glands are more numerous than endocrine glands, but they secrete products into ducts, and those secretions are released basically outside the body, onto body surfaces or into body cavities. And body cavities a lot of the times are, you can think of them, so your digestive tract is still the outside of the body because it's a continuous track from the environment, that it's a continuous tube that passes through your body and it's open to the environment. So their exocrine gland secretions are released onto the body surfaces, such as the skin, or into body cavities. So you can get mucus, sweat, oils, salivary glands. These are all examples of exocrine glands and what they secrete. Unicellular exocrine glands, there's only really one, the goblet cell. It's a mucus secreting cell, usually found in mucus secreting tissue in the airways. So here's an example of a goblet cell with lots of secretory vesicles containing mucin, and it has a little tiny pore here, and it can release these vesicles onto, or it can release these vesicles through the cell membrane and dump their contents into the apical surface there. Multicellular exocrine glands have a duct and a secretory unit. And there's a variety of multicellular exocrine glands, and we can figure out what they are according to what their ducts look like and what the structure of their secretory units look like. Tubular, alveolar, or tubulo-alveolar. So a tubular secretory structure basically has a tube one tube. Simple tubular just has one tube. Simple branched tubular has branches. The duct doesn't branch, but we've got some branches of, we've got some, delete here. Okay, so what defines the different ducts? So we can have a tubular secretory structure, and it's either simple or branched. And we can have, so that has these are simple tubular and simple branched tubular. The duct doesn't branch, but here the tubular secretory structure does. Then a compound duct structure is where the duct branches. An alveolar secretory structure is shaped more like a sac than a tube. It's rounded. And so you can have simple alveolar, just one sac. Simple branched alveolar, multiple sacs dumping into one duct. And then you can have compound alveolar dumping into branched ducts, and then compound tubulo-alveolar. So these have both alveolar circular structure and alveolar secretory structure and tubular secretory structure dumping into ducts. We can, exocrine glands produce things in different ways, modes of secretion. There's merocrine and holocrine. So merocrine, the products are secreted by exocytosis. So vesicles fuse with the cell membrane and release their stuff to the cell's exterior. Holocrine mechanism of action is that the cells themselves actually rupture and release what's inside them.